My name is Lauren Windle, and this is The Good Pod Guide, the podcast that points you in the direction of other podcasts you might enjoy, thus saving you time, research, and brain power. A few episodes back, I told you about my Jamie Oliver dream, right? I can't remember exactly what episode it was, but I just want to get everyone up to date with my dream situation. I constantly dream that I'm dating someone famous, and they're not even like naughty dreams. In a recent one, it was just me and my boyfriend, Chef Ben from Below Deck, and we went to return some roller skates together. So Dream Me really only wants to run errands with these guys. It usually sort of pins on what I've been watching on TV at the time, although I haven't been watching anything with Jamie Oliver, so I don't know where that's come from. Maybe that is just from my deep subconscious desires. But anyway, my most recent one is Diags from Towie, and I actually think that that's not even a bad shout because he's really funny, and I love men who are really funny. So if you're listening, Diags, just so you know, my DMs are open. Anyway, enough of that. Let me tell you about Dead Eyes. I'm going to tell you now that I love this podcast and I think you should seriously consider listening to it. It's hosted by Connor Ratliff, an actor who has had some smaller roles in some big name shows. I actually didn't recognize him, but I think you might, particularly if you've watched the last season of Orange is the New Black or The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Basically, this guy Connor was fired by Tom Hanks about 20 years ago from a small speaking role of Band of Brothers. He was all ready to go. He had done all of his prep. And the day before filming, he got a call from his agent saying that Tom, who was directing that episode, had seen his audition tape and he was having second thoughts because he said he had dead eyes. So the show says it sets out to investigate why Tom Hanks fired him, and it's all set up in this spoof serial kind of a way. But what it actually evolves into is quite deep at times, and it's this exploration of disappointment and rejection and how it can shape your future decisions. And I actually really enjoy the discussions about resilience too. I am so fascinated by this as a topic. A good friend of mine did a series on YouTube called 40 Days of Failure, where he took on a challenge each day and assessed how that failure affected him. You should check it out. It's so good, so entertaining. And even so, I've got a book out in summer 2021 called Notes on Love, available to pre-order or to buy on all good bookstores, in all good bookstores even. Anyway, I put 2 chapters on disappointment in that book, and they definitely would have been like 8 to 10,000 words if my editor hadn't told me to stop wallowing and cut it down to 4,000. But in the book, I'm specifically talking about like breakups and heartbreak. So I loved hearing it from this different angle and exploring it in a new context, in this sort of professional career context. It really helps that he's a comedian and he brings in some famous friends and experts to discuss these topics and the industry standards and things with him too. There are 20 episodes in total. They start at about 30 minutes, but more recent episodes are up to sort of 50. It's the phenomenon I've mentioned before, where success means increasingly long podcast episodes. It's basically the classic successful podcast pattern. And in fact, I'm going to talk about this so much because it happens so frequently in coming reviews that I'm just going to abbreviate it to CSPP. So next time I say CSPP, you'll all know that I'm talking about the classic successful podcast pattern where they decide that they can talk for longer because people are listening. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you how Dead Eyes plays out, and I'll pretend that that's because I want to protect you from spoilers, but actually I haven't gone to the end yet. But it is so funny, and it's not a shallow listen. It is really full of heart, and I think you should check it out. In the next episode, I get really in my stride with slagging people off and express a pretty non-favourable opinion of a pretty popular podcast. You'll have to tune in to see if you agree. For more info on the Good Pod Guide, check out the show notes. Also, if you've enjoyed what you've heard, like, subscribe, and leave a positive review. It makes a big difference.